So apparently JJ Redick is a head coaching candidate. The Sixers are going to be making some moves, and Brandon Ingram might be a Laker, Clipper, Suns. I'm forgetting every other team he's been linked to. All that more in this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with Joe's Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him, and I'm joined by my man, Sports Talk Terry E.T., trying to rock blue like me. His blue's better. Your blue's better than mine. I can't lie. Like I was gonna try to do a
All right.
joke, but much better than mine. Your blue's much better than mine. But before we get to hoops, I want to talk a little Chip Kelly. Now, you were in Philly at that time, and it was my first stint on Philly Sports Talk Radio the season he was hired. So I came in at the same time he came in. But before I give my opinions about everything and how he turned the city ate itself alive, what were your impressions of the hire, the job he did, and all the subsequent noise that's coming out since then about him as a coach and as a man?
So I equate Chip Kelly to the Tickle Me Elmo phenomenon. If you think back about how excited folks were when Tickle Me
Make
Elmo
that
first
work,
came
Sway.
out,
Make that work.
I'm about to. So everybody was really excited. Everybody had to see what the fuzz was about. They all wanted him. He was a big glitzy glamour guy who had a ton of success at Oregon. Mariota was going to be in the draft. They're talking about getting Mariota to come under Chip Kelly at some point in the future. There was a whole lot of buzz around him because he had an offense that just ran up and down the field and scored all these points in the Pac-12. Okay. The first year he came out, caught the league by storm. Guys weren't prepared for the pace of his offense, and that was fine. But just like the Wildcat, just like everything else in sports, teams adjust. And then once they caught up, he basically became a shell of what he was because then defenses got tape on him and they knew how to adjust accordingly. And on top of that, what he did is alienated himself from the players. He didn't create a culture where guys were comfortable. He made some moves in terms of the way he handled certain roster and personnel decisions, whether it was getting rid of Shady McCoy, bringing in an age DeMarco Murray, trading for an injured Kiko Alonso, who was coming off a major injury the year before, with guys that had already produced and proven that they could win at the NFL level, playing under Andy Reid. And it wasn't the trades that was the problem, it's the fact that he didn't get quality back. And the move with Deshaun Jackson was always funny because so many people took it at face value and ran with it without doing due diligence,
Yeah.
only to find out accusing that man of being involved in gang activity, being gang affiliated. None of that found it. Where was the public apology? Where was the, we're sorry we accused him of that? Because people were literally putting their careers on the line, stating, oh, he's affiliated with gangs and he could be
Yep.
doing this, that, and the third. And none of that was true. And now you go and you smear that man's name and now his reputation for the rest of his career that followed him as a stigma. Shady McCoy being washed up, who only then went on to go play and win a Super Bowl ring, elsewhere. These are the things that when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's unfortunate because there was enough talent on that roster that Andy Reid did a great job of drafting. But personally, I heard the interview with Shady and Deshaun where they made inferences that Chip Kelly was uncomfortable around black men. I can't go that far. What I will say is I think he was uncomfortable around black men he couldn't control. And here's what I mean. When kids are coming in out of high school into college and trying to make a name for
Yeah.
themselves to go into the league, they're more pliable. They're more willing to listen. They're more willing to do what a coach asks them to do without question. When you're dealing with grown men who make more money than you, it's going to be hard to sit there and tell them, well, you better do this and you better do that and you better do
You
this.
gotta have some
And they
loud
not raise
quiet
up at you.
moments. Yeah.
So I think that was where the uncomfortability came from because it's different talking to an 18, 19-year-old kid and a 29-year-old man who also outweighs you by 100 pounds. You know what I mean? So
And
I think
who's
that's where
had
the disconnect.
success, who's had success in the league that you've never even peed in, yet alone done anything in. You
Yep.
know, full disclosure, I was a Chip Kelly. I thought this hire was a solid. I felt like the Eagles should have went a little younger. It was I want to say Joe Lombardi was the name that I liked. He was the offensive
Mm-hmm.
coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers at that time, and I really was a big fan of his. But I also thought Chip Kelly was a solid hire. I was a sports talk radio show host in ESPN New Hampshire at the time, and then I became a host in Philadelphia about maybe a month after Chip Kelly was hired. For me, he lost me the moment he decided to send Riley Cooper to North Philly for a weekend and then
Mm.
basically sequester him from the rest of the team. And for those who don't know what that means, it's this. Riley Cooper goes to a Kenny Chesney concert and yells, because he's not allowed backstage. He tells the black security guards who were just doing their job. He's what would you say? He was a D-list receiver at that time? Maybe even an F-list receiver?
He had a good year that year. I think he came off
Well,
of
that was
like
before
a
Chip
double
Kelly even
digit
got
touchdown.
there. So he hadn't had
Yeah,
any. He was okay with Andy Reid, but Andy Reid's team
agree.
was awful. So he comes in and he says, "I will kick every N word over there," and it got caught on video.
Yep, that didn't go
Standing
well
next
for
to Riley
Riley.
Cooper when he made those statements was all Eagle, all World, all future Hall of Famer Jason Kelsey. So Jason Kelsey and Riley Cooper when he makes that statement. They come back and Chip Kelly doesn't really do anything. He says, we talked to Riley. Riley addressed the team, and LaShawn McCoy discusses. And then they removed Riley from the team. So nobody could talk to him. He then proceeded to protect Riley at all costs. He then proceeded to alienate Michael Vick by putting him in situations where he could not be successful on the field and off the field, making him the team whipping boy or team whipping man. He then created an offense that wasn't conducive to the skill players that he had. It's conducive to what he could do. So he never adapted to the league, adapted to the players. Then he hits Nick Foles. Nick Foles has a 7-touchdown game, and they wound up finishing the season 10-6, losing to the Saints in the first round.
Uh-huh.
Then DeSean Jackson is a gang member. Where's this coming from? Where's this? How we? Well, he doesn't use C words. He only uses B words. What? What are you talking about? And that was, to me, Chip Kelly in a nutshell. He didn't adapt on the field and spit in your face and told you it was raining off the field.
Uh-huh.
Do I think Chip Kelly is a racist? I don't give a rip. I don't care. I know how he treated his black players. I know how he treated his white players. There was a stark difference. I know how he treated Michael Vick as opposed to how he treated Nick Foles and Sam Bradford. Let us not forget Sam Bradford. I know how much he loved Jeremy Maclin, who couldn't produce a slither of the way DeSean Jackson. In my opinion, DeSean Jackson is the greatest Eagles receiver of all time. Couldn't connect with him. Couldn't connect with him. When you think about it over totality, it hits different. It hits different. Because the first thing you think about is Mike Quick, Terrell Owens. Oh, excuse me. When you think about DeSean Jackson's career, it hits different. Trading LaShawn McCoy was an ego trip. Banishing Howie Roseman was an ego trip. But my issue with LaShawn McCoy and DeSean Jackson, Jason Peters, is the fact that they didn't speak up when the time was right. It's easy to kick Kelly when he's down. Was he an
Uh-huh.
offensive coordinator at Boogaloo State now? I know he's an offensive coordinator somewhere. I don't care where. He just got fired
Uh,
from LA.
OSU, I think it's either OSU or Alabama. It's one or the other.
He got fired at UCLA, replaced by Deshaun Foster, first time head coach. He had one of the worst careers, the worst seasons ever in San Francisco, under the umbrella of Colin Kaepernick and everything that was going on. He got run out of Philadelphia. It's easy to kick Chip Kelly now. But why didn't you say something then? Why did you wait till now? And the person who, and this is just, then we're going to move on. Brandon Graham is probably one of the greatest Eagles of all time. Not Hall of Famer, but he's going to be in a Ring of Honor.
Uh-huh.
When they released DeSean Jackson, Brandon Graham put out a tweet supporting DeSean Jackson and saying that he was a great teammate and a great guy. Then he immediately deletes the tweet. And the team puts out this statement through its reporters that not one player is supporting DeSean Jackson. But that's not true.
Right.
The reason why Brandon deletes the tweet, nobody knows. But LaShawn kind of let slip out on the podcast that Brandon Graham was supposed to be traded. And for some reason, Jeffrey Lurie steps in and says, no, enough, we're not going to trade. But they were going to trade Brandon Graham too, who was a supporter of DeSean Jackson. That to me is what Chip Kelly's legacy will be. It will, whether he's a racist, irrelevant to me. The way he made that city eat itself alive, the way he had people talking about in Chip we trust. Remember that? It was in Chip we
I do.
trust. Then it was trust the process. Again, trusting men who are living off privilege and not results. But to hear these guys talk about it now, and I'm not gonna get into my personal story with the fanatic and working in Philadelphia, but those voices were needed at that time, and they weren't. So I don't want to hear Deshaun Jackson, who I love. I love Deshaun Jackson. I'm a huge Deshaun Jackson fan, huge LaShawn McCoy fan, but I don't want to hear them talking about Chip Kelly. But I wanted to get your opinions on it as a guy who was, like I said, I was there on the radio, in the belly of the beast, having to have these conversations, having to have white men tell me I was in it, having to have white men say that, you use that word in rap music all the time. Why can't I say it? Having to have those conversations off of Chip
Mhm.
Kelly. I'll never forget it. And it changed me as a host, and it made me look at things a lot differently years later. Now I want to fast forward. So speaking of privilege, JJ Redick is the name I'm hearing. Yeah, for the future head coach for your Los Angeles Lakers. Now I had to do some research, and by research I mean Google. Shout out, see the guy. I did not know JJ Redick was a co-captain on Duke for 2 years, his junior and sophomore year, or junior and senior year. Well, you know why I say that? Because I question his leadership ability. I don't want to talk about him as a man because I don't know him as a man. I don't want to talk about him as a player. So I want to talk about his credentials as a coach. I want to center in on that. I want to know, is he capable of leading men? As a Lakers fan, what do you think about JJ Redick roaming your sidelines and not Sam Cassell?
So
Who
here's
I
my
think
answer. I think it should be Sam Cassell or Mark Jackson, one or the other. Now, we've had extensive conversations about Mark Jackson, who should be a coach.
exactly.
Probably will never coach in the league again, unfortunately. But I think it should only be one of those two guys. And here's the reasons why. JJ Redick seems like he's a guy that understands X's and O's. He went to Duke, which, for those who don't know, isn't just a basketball school. It actually is a very prestigious academic
Hold on,
university.
stop right there, because I got a question about that. What makes you think what is cultivating this opinion that you think he understands X's and O's? Because I question that.
So So here's the thing. I know lately he's been doing this podcast with LeBron where they break down plays through X's and O's and they talk about the numbers to give you a little bit of insight. It's the same way that you hear guys like Tom Brady and Tony Romo break down plays in games in live games. You say, man, these guys really kind of understand the game and know how plays look and what they look like and can break it down from an X's and O's. But I say that to a point. Understanding how to break down X's and O's and motivating grown men to be able to execute those same X's and O's is a whole different conversation. It's kind of like, and I use every example but Udonis Haslem. You can't be the 12th man on the bench telling the superstar what to do and expect respect. Udonis Haslem's the only one I've ever seen do that, but nobody else. JJ Redick was a very good shooter. I can't really put anything else on his career beyond that. He wasn't a great scorer. He wasn't an all-world defender. He wasn't a guy who could put a team on his back and lead him to winning once he got out of college. And so I say that to say, most times, a lot of times, some of the best coaches in the world weren't always the greatest players, and that's fine. But I think to come into a job like the LA Lakers, you know what this screams? Steve Nash to Brooklyn a couple of years ago. A guy who understood X's and O's,
Ooh,
who knew the game.
ooh, I like that. I like that. But Steve
It's a
Nash
guy
was a
who
better player and had been at least Steve Nash had been a point
and
guard, a
that's and
leader
that's
on the court.
and that's my point. And I was going to say that you're stealing my thunder here because what I was going to say was the difference between the two is that at least Steve Nash ran an offense, understood X's and O's, and was a better player, a Hall of Famer, and had a better career than JJ Redick. JJ Redick was a fringe, marginal player who, he's best noted for snapping off on first take in the mornings. Like he's more noted for that and the things he says now in his commentary than he is, ripping Doc Rivers every week, than he is for actually being the kind of guy that I would take a multi-billion-dollar franchise and give the keys to and say, take a aged superstar, take him and a guy who can't stay healthy and lead them to the promised land. I just don't see it. Not when there's more experienced guys who actually coached in the trenches, seen coaching in playoff action, had to coach NBA players at a high level, and actually won. Because mind you, Sam Cassell is a NBA champion.
Yeah,
Okay,
where's
they
his
won.
resume? Where's his resume? Like, I'm not trying to
That's my
cut you
point.
off, but I want to jump in there before you move on to the topic because you were going to get to Sam Cassell. Where's JJ Redick's resume to be a coach? And what I mean by that is you look at other guys that have come out of the booth and have been coaches. So Pat Riley was, I'm going way back to the 70s, but I want to say he was kind of a combo guard at Kentucky.
Hmm.
And then he goes to the Lakers and he was kind of like a fringe guard. He wasn't really a point guard, but he wasn't really a shooting guard. Doc Rivers was a point guard, leader of men. Get guys in the position, game in and game out, was in charge of making sure guys reach their highest potential. You can never look at any Doc Rivers led basketball teams, not as a coach, basketball teams, and say they underachieved. He got the most out of his Knicks tenure. He got the most out of his Atlanta Hawks tenure. I would even say with the Atlanta Hawks, they overachieved because Tree Rollins was their starting center. Stop.
My
Then
man Tree.
you go to Jay Kidd, obviously one of the greatest point guards of all time. But again, champion. You can never look at any of Jason Kidd's teams, whether it was in Phoenix, when he had a domestic abuse situation, got shipped to New Jersey. They get the most out of that team, makes Byron Scott's career, winds up back in Dallas, wins the championship there. Can't look at any time to say Jason Kidd's teams underachieved. They didn't reach their potential. These were the leaders of the team. JJ Redick was never a leader of his team.
No.
And if you want to dig back, his teams perennially underachieved. The Sixers, when they were heavy favorites against the Celtics. The Clippers, say less. Just the Clippers say less. Even the Orlando Magic. Oh, excuse me. His teams habitually came up short. I can't speak to Duke because he was a co-captain. So he wasn't a starter, wasn't a significant piece of the team. He was an all-time leading scorer, but you can point to Ewing, you can point to Sheldon Williams, you can point to Mike Krzyzewski, say those were the reasons why they didn't win. You can't pin it on JJ Redick. JJ Redick was brought to the Clippers to give them a piece, to give them an aspect of offense they didn't have. And Doc Rivers exposed why Redick went at him the way he did, because he said that he was mad at him for him benching him when he was with the Clippers. But he said, I had to bench you because he didn't play well in the playoffs.
That's what he said.
This is your king. This is your king. Where are the players that are saying, yo, JJ Redick is a great basketball mind? I do blame LeBron, and I never blame LeBron for anything.
Because he shouldn't have went into that podcast. Now he's giving him hope that he didn't deserve.
Exactly.
And if
people
LeBron
are
is
looking at him in a position that he doesn't.
People think LeBron would sign off on it. Now, here's the thing. You don't even know that LeBron's coming back to the Lakers at this point. So Lakers will be foolish. But they're hamstrung because what else are they going to do? If they want to have any chance, they're going to have to give LeBron what they even think he might want, even if it's not what he truly wants or what he truly needs to win.
But LeBron's not going to tell them, I want this guy, because the guys that he said he wanted, the last one didn't work out, and it had to come back from him. And he's going to always do what's best for him, not maybe what's best for the Lakers. He'll do what's best for him because he thinks what's best for him will be what's best for Lakers. JJ Redick, though, for me, what makes him a bad hire is not just the underachievement, but also I question if he's going to be able to connect with players. He doesn't have a history of being a guy that players of all walks of life get along with. Okay, he gets along with Chris Paul, whoop-de-damn do. He gets along with Matt Barnes, whoop-de-damn do. Can he get along with Austin Reeves, or can he get the most out of Austin Reeves and Cam Reddish? Can he do that? I know Stan Cassell can. I know Stan Cassell got the New Jersey Nets to the playoffs when they were awful. I know Stan Cassell got the Clippers in the second round before JJ Redick got there. I know Stan Cassell's won a title with 3 teams. I know he came off the bench, was the go-to man for a back-to-back Houston Rockets champion. I know Stan Cassell was the 12th man who had to air the superstars in Boston. And I also know that Stan Cassell's been sitting on an NBA bench for almost a decade as an assistant.
Right. That's
and
the key.
Best team in the NBA, who's their lead assistant? Stan Cassell.
Which, quick caveat, I think that if Joe Mazzulla gets canned because Boston for some reason underachieves and doesn't miraculously get there, they'll fire him and they should immediately move Sam Cassell to that spot.
They may not want that job. Look, and you mentioned Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson's not going to get that job, mainly because I just don't think that job's the right fit for him. I believe Mark needs a younger team. I thought when he didn't get the Sacramento job, I just didn't know. I just wondered if he was ever going to get back in the NBA. Because Sacramento was tailor-made for him. Cassell could walk in and instantly get the most out of Austin Reeves, get the most out of Rui Hachimura, get the most out of Cam Reddish, I mentioned. Those guys will no longer play above their heads. They're ceiling will get raised, if you will. You know Anthony Davis is going to show up. You know LeBron's going to show up. But who's going to be the consistent go-to scorer? And I don't want to see Trae Young come to LA. I don't think that's going to happen, but I don't want to see that happen. But it doesn't make Trae Young doesn't fit for them. But
He
perhaps
fits with
Brandon.
Pop.
Say again.
He fits with Pop.
What the what?
With Pop. Put him with Wemby.
No, it's a story for another day. I mean, what they win? 10 more games than they had Trae Young? Like
They're a playoff team with Trae Young and Wemby.
they're a playoff team without Trae Young.
They're not a playoff team right now.
They're a playoff team without Trae Young. They're AR. Excuse me. You're right. Correction. They're a playing team without Trae Young. So I don't think I think they're playing team with them. That's the big for another thing. I don't like the JJ Redick move, and it's got nothing to do with it personally. My personal feelings against the man aside, I just think that coaching is less about X's and O's, and it's about the phrase, Malik's and Joe's. You know what I mean? And he's not going to get the most out of those now. He reeks of a level of privilege, and I'm not talking about off the court, but I'm just talking about when he comes in. You're thinking he's getting this job because he had a podcast with LeBron. He's getting this job because he looks the part. He's not getting this job because he's earned the part. Now, since we're talking about this function, what happened with Phoenix Suns, man? I sat here and you told me the Phoenix Suns were going to the finals?
Western Conference Finals. Yep.
You told me Bradley Beal was an all-star. You told me Devin Booker was clutch. You told me KD and LeBron belong in the same sentence. Explain yourself.
I got one word for you. Ant-Man.
I'll get the hell out of here.
Stop it. Ant-Man is a dog.
That team struggled. That team struggled. We wouldn't have talked about the Suns as much as we did if Draymond doesn't smack or kick Yusuf Nurkic. Like, they're not even discussing the Suns if Draymond doesn't smack that dude. It was a point in the year where the Suns were an afterthought. No, excuse me. It was a point in the year where the Suns were an afterthought. And making matters worse, I didn't know this. I found this out preparing for the show. They gave Bradley Beal a no trade clause.
Yeah, now they're stuck with that albatross of a contract. $100 million over the next couple of years. Yeah.
Reports are KD wants out. He was not happy. He went weeks at a time, allegedly. I don't know how true this is without speaking to Frank Vogel. I like Budenholzer as a coach. I'm out on Devin Booker. When the Suns are at their worst, Devin Booker's at the helm. And I think people forget that. And I told you that before the season started. When they were one of the worst teams in the league, Devin Booker was their lead guard.
Here's the $1 million question.
Give it to him again.
Well, let's walk down this road. Devin Booker is the only guy on that roster that has trade value because of the fact that he's young and he's a star.
I disagree.
When I say value, well, let me back that up. Not value, because you can obviously trade KD and get some value even at 35. What I'm talking about, you get the most value on that roster for Devin Booker because of his age and the fact that he can still get better. He just needs a system where he fits. The question is, where does he go and what do you get back? The only team I see that's got the assets, the only team I see that's got the assets, the pieces, and it makes the most sense is a team that's playing right now.
Mavericks?
The Oklahoma City Thunder.
No way. Have you had a chance to watch the Thunder play?
You put him and Shai in the same backcourt?
Not gonna work. Why
wouldn't it work?
They played two different styles with shit. See, the thing about full disclosure, real quick, before we go, we'll take you back real quick. I turned on the game to watch Oklahoma City's Thunder one year, a few months ago. And I was expecting a rip. I was like, man, this team ain't that good. I don't know what people are talking about. I watched 10 minutes. I said, I think these mofos are about to go to the NBA Finals. They played a style of basketball that I hadn't seen since Golden State before they added Kevin Durant. That 73-win team. You say, how? That doesn't make sense. They can kill you in the half court. They can kill you in transition. They can switch on pick and rolls. You don't have a weakness on their perimeter defenders. They can get after you as far as being in the paint, blocking shots, rebounding. They're a good offensive rebounding team. They're a great defensive rebounding team. And another thing they do is they play extremely hard. Devin Booker does none of those things. Devin Booker is an ain't my fault numbers guy. He's going to get his 70,
Oh, nah,
so
he's
you
better
can't
than
say
that.
it ain't his fault they lost. And I
No,
disagree
he's
with you. I
better
think
than that.
KD's trade value is higher than Devin Booker's. I just
What?
don't think they
He's
want to.
35. What team is going to give you the world for Kevin Durant at this point in his career,
But
knowing
what's
that
the
he's a
world?
hired gun?
What's the world? What's the world?
We're talking young players and picks.
Okay.
Players ready to play right now and picks.
Well, Phoenix doesn't need young players because they're right now they're poised to. They need guys that have already got all stars on their resume. They don't want guys that are young.
You're not getting all stars with an S back for Kevin Durant at
No, but I'm
35.
saying they need a guy that's got an all star on his resume. I can think of a guy right now that they would make the trade. I don't think KD would want to go there, and I don't think James Jones makes the trade. But you could probably get Brandon Ingram straight for Kevin Durant. You could probably get Brandon Ingram, excuse me, straight up for Kevin Durant
He doesn't want to
without
play in
batting
New
it out.
Orleans.
No, he may not want to, but I'm saying you could get that move quickly. You can get. He doesn't have an All Star appearance on his belt, so I can't throw him in there. But you could undoubtedly get Tim Hardaway and some other garbage, some
Tim
other role
Hardaway.
players, some
So you're
other
putting
role
Kyrie
players.
and KD back together again?
With Luca, yeah, it would work. I mean, but the point, and
They
one
don't have
more
enough
team.
basketballs.
I don't think KD's that type of player. He's never been that type of value guy anyway. And I think at this point in his career, he's not that type of guy. I think he would fit perfectly as an interchangeable two to third best player. And just another team to keep your eye on, especially when he walks in the office and says, "You don't tell me to keep my mouth shut." Let's talk about that. Let's unpack that real quick. We got a little bit of time here. We talked about him when we talked about the Lakers head coach. Now, there's only one man in this world that can tell me to keep my mouth shut. His name is Don Jones, my father. Outside of that, there's not another man with the same genitalia as me that can tell me to keep his mouth shut and walk away like, yeah, I said that. So when I hear Pat Riley say that Jimmy Butler needs to keep his mouth shut, and I think about a story that Shaquille O'Neal said, Phil Jackson whistles and says, "I'm your master. You get over here." And Robert Ory said, "The hell you are. I'm from Alabama. You ain't my master." I think about Jimmy Butler. I'm from Texas. You ain't gonna tell me to keep my mouth shut, boy. Who you talking to? You ain't gonna tell me to put my glasses back on and I'll put them back on. Jimmy Butler's out. Jimmy
He's
Butler's
definitely
out.
out.
He's out.
1,000%.
So KD for Jimmy Butler.
How does that make Miami better? Miami has too many holes in their roster.
Exactly. So that's and it's funny you say that because to me, it's like, how does it make Miami better? There's nobody when they got Jimmy Butler. Realistically, did you think, oh, Miami got better? No, they traded Josh Richardson and a couple other players. They thought it was a what for what deal. I, in my opinion, believe that Jimmy Butler is on the last legs of his career. I do not
I
think
agree.
he is. I don't think. I think him and Kevin Durant are about what at this point. So if you're Miami, you're adding a guy that's going to give you roughly 70 to 80 games. It's going to give you 30 or some points, plus 30 some points, and it's going to show up for you in the playoffs. If you're Phoenix, you're getting toughness, accountability, and a guy that's going to play 50 to 60 games for you. And if he's, I don't say healthy, but if he's capable, he'll show up for you in the playoffs. That's what you get from both sides. That's what you get from both sides.
That trade, the only problem I have is we're adding Jimmy Butler, a guy who's big on accountability, to a team with a guy you just said struggles with accountability, where every time there's disaster, he's getting empty stats and he's leading the helm.
No, I didn't say Kevin Durant struggles with accountability.
No.
I said Devin Booker does.
That's what I'm saying. You're putting him
Okay.
with a guy in Devin Booker on the same roster. And you know what you're going to have? Karl Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler and Andrew Wiggins all over again, where he gets in
No,
practice
because
and says,
Devin Booker
I'm
about
me,
that.
get these bums out of here.
Devin Booker's He's built a little different than Carl Anthony Towns. Let's just say that. I'm gonna just say that. So you won't have a situation where Jimmy Butler run all over. If you're Phoenix, I don't think you're gonna make that trade anyway, because I don't think you're trading anybody. Why am I trading anybody? You have an owner who thinks he knows everything.
Yep.
He's not gonna admit that he was wrong. He
No,
admitted
he's
that he
gonna
was
get a
wrong with
good
the
coach and
coach.
double down. Yeah.
He admitted he was wrong with the coach, but I think that was more James Jones saying,
I
"Look,
didn't understand. I didn't understand why they didn't go trade for Budenholzer from the start. Budenholzer is a very good coach.
Well, I think that they didn't, probably because maybe Budenholzer didn't want the job. Maybe he wanted to decompress. Doc gets fired from the Clippers. He should have taken a year off. Instead, he goes to Philly. It's a disaster. He loses. He lost a player who was the number one pick in the draft and has never been the same since. You need time to decompress. You need time to catch your breath. You need time to bring it back. All right. So I want to end this segment. I want to come back. I want to talk with you about Golden State Klay Thompson. But before we go, we got 5 minutes left. Quickly, Donovan Mitchell, go.
I hate the fact that he always is hurt in the playoffs.
All right, I want you to remove always hurt and just say I hate and just say heat and leave it there. I hate heat. I do not like Donovan Mitchell, man. It's not even about always being hurt in the playoffs. He's like a he's like a pretty girl that always needs something. It's too cold in the summertime. You got to put the windows down. The heater's too hot in the car in the wintertime. The cereal ain't wet enough. The toast ain't brown. Like it's always something with this dude. It's like it's always something. I don't want to call him a diva because I hate that. But he's like a pretty girl. The reason why I say he's like a pretty girl is because he's a pretty basketball player, man. He's a great basketball player to watch. But it's always something.
Always.
He would look great in Miami too.
Well, that's probably where he'll end up.
I don't think he's going to get the money he thinks he's going to get, though. He's a free agent. I definitely think he's got an eye on the team. I don't think he's going to get back, but we're going to talk free agents on the other side. Yeah, watching him sit out in a critical game 4 for a strain, a strain. He strained his calf. It's the worst. All right, so we'll take a quick break. Come back on the other side. I want to talk about Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson possibly going to Orlando, and maybe I was wrong on Joel Embiid.
Hmm.
I think I might have been wrong about Joel Embiid.